Mr. Mayor, Washington is a mess. Is Mueller really going to testify?
He put it off for a week, so we have to assume he's going to testify this upcoming week. And he shouldn't, really. I mean, he already put out his report. He made his 10-minute statement and then said he wasn't going to talk about it anymore because it's not proper. But somebody must have persuaded him that he should comment some more. I mean, he's already commented more than any prosecutor has ever commented about a case they didn't bring. But let's see what he says.
But there's so many open items. How does he answer a question like, how come he indicted certain people and Manafort? He indicted Manafort. Manafort's partner, Tony Podesta, didn't even look at. How does he answer a question like that?
I don't know. I mean, in fact, they had closed the case on Manafort 3 years ago. They reopened it. They reopened it based on a black book that was found in Ukraine that now turns out to be fraudulent. So did he ever investigate that? Did he ever investigate why someone would want to reopen the investigation using fraudulent evidence? Really, the reason they wanted to reopen it is to see what they could do to try to frame President Trump.
Rudy, you've been in law enforcement all your life. Have you ever seen things like this go on?
No. Never seen anything like this. Never seen such a distortion of our law enforcement system, and it gets worse. It gets worse and worse. And I'm shocked at what I see, and I'm not sure I've seen everything yet.
As you turn over, it's like you turn over another page, and you find 5 more problems.
The way they distorted our law enforcement and our intelligence services is both very frightening and really disgraceful. They shouldn't be able to do that. That should not be possible in America, at this stage of our development. You shouldn't be able to use these agencies in order to develop completely fraudulent cases.
It happened with the CIA. It happens with the FBI. Now, look, again, you've been in law enforcement all your life, and both of us know 99.99% of those people are hardworking, decent people that want to do the right thing by America. Who stacked the deck at the top? Was it President Obama? Was it Hillary? Who was it?
Well, of course, it's hard to tell. Right now, it's sort of the buck stops with Comey. He started an investigation. It seemed like a very, very flimsy bit of evidence that he had. The comment that was made to Papadopoulos about having dirt on Hillary Clinton. It didn't indicate anything other than they had dirt on her, which we assume that the Russians have dirt on everybody. And we probably have dirt on people, too. So that was hardly a comment, particularly from a fairly low-down campaign operative, to start an investigation of the entire Trump campaign, including the candidate himself. So that's going to be a question. Now, did Comey do it on his own? Did somebody at the White House tell him to do it? Did Brennan tell him to do it? I don't know. I think that's what has to be found out. But right now, it seems that the buck stops with Comey. He's the guy that's going to have to answer for how could he have started all this based on such a flimsy foundation, a steel dossier that turns out to be a complete phony. He hadn't been in Russia for 9 years. He got most of the information. He doesn't even know where. He can't even attest to it. And Comey says it's verified in the complaint or in the affidavit that he filed under oath. And then 4 months later, he tells the president it's not verified. So these are very, very questionable actions on the part of Comey. And of course, did it stop with him or does it go further up? I mean, I think Mueller is going to find out that although he can't talk about the investigation any more than he's already disclosed, he's going to be faced with a lot of questions he hasn't answered before. For example, why didn't he attempt to verify the Steele dossier since it was the basis for the investigation? It turns out to be a basis that is false, fraudulent, and a paid-for political document. And he's conducting a $35 million investigation, in part based on this dossier. And he doesn't try to figure out, was it contrived? Who did it? Were the allegations made up? So those are questions he's going to be faced with, because it sounds very much like he was on a political mission as opposed to a law enforcement mission.
Mueller had to know that the stuff that Comey was saying and doing and telling him was not 100%.
I can't imagine that he didn't. I mean, they had the same chief investigator, Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok, after a 6-7 month counterintelligence investigation, concluded that there was no evidence to support the collusion claim, and he actually texted his girlfriend, "There's no there." So he had to have communicated that to both Comey and Mueller. So if he's telling them we couldn't find evidence of collusion, and there were wiretaps, international investigation, why did they go ahead and investigate it again, only to find that there was no evidence of it? What's that all about? Other than an abuse of the FBI. And I want to emphasize, you made a very good point, John. We're talking about the upper echelons here, the political people, not the people in the field offices in New York and Washington and Boston. Those people are completely straight, completely hardworking, and completely honest.
So somebody politicized them. Now, is this going to go down?
Actually, there's no question about that. Right.
Is this going to go down in American history as an attempt to overthrow the government of the United States?
It may very well. It may very well. It certainly is going to. I'm quite convinced it was definitely an attempt to first stop Donald Trump from being president, and then to remove him from office. There's no doubt that was the motivation. Peter Strzok said as much in one of the text messages to his girlfriend.
That is mind-boggling and shocking. We have a couple of minutes left, Mr. Mayor. What else do you want to tell the American public on a Sunday morning about Washington?
Well, I think the president has shown real determination in trying to convince Iran that they shouldn't push us too far by retaliating against the Iranians when their drone came too close to us. I think he showed them in the right way that we mean business. Remember, he didn't respond by bombing them and killing people because they didn't kill anybody. So now the response that he made is actually proportionate. They took down a drone, and he showed them that if you take our drones down, you come too close to us, we're going to take yours down. So hopefully, I mean, I've given up really hoping. I guess I'm just saying this. But I hope this gives them a sense that we're pretty serious and they should stop these provocations. But I believe this regime in Iran is beyond any hope. I think they're extremely irrational people, unlike most of the rest of the world, where you may have some pretty bad actors, but they're at least rational.
My statement lately publicly was that Donald Trump has terrorized the terrorists. Is that a good statement?
Yeah, I think he has. I think they take him seriously, and unfortunately, you have to do that. I wrote a book on leadership, and I have a chapter called "Stand Up to Bullies." And when you're dealing with one of these people, you have to stand up to them. You can't start cowering. You have to stand up to them, and if they hit you in the nose, you got to show you can hit back twice as hard. But I think there couldn't be anybody leading our country right now better than Donald Trump for doing both, for knowing how to hit back and to knowing how to hit back proportionately, not out of control.
He doesn't want war. He'll only have war if they force him into it.
I think he's made that clear. He made that clear that if there is war, it'll be because it is absolutely critically necessary to our self-interest and our survival, but not, for frivolous purposes. So
agreed.
They better be careful. They better be careful, because if they start killing Americans and doing things like that, he's not going to tolerate that.
He's not a warmonger. He is pushing for a great world economy. and he's doing a great job, in my opinion. And,
he is, John. The world is safer. Where our economy is about as good as it's ever been. Poor people are doing better than they've ever done before. So let's keep our fingers crossed. We don't really have to. I just say that as an expression. My mother taught me that. I think good policies.
It's a good old New York expression.
Right. I think it's very solid policies of Donald Trump and his administration that have our economy in the shape that it's in. But you as a great businessman, you know it better than anybody.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, John.
Morning.
Talk to you anytime you want, and very soon. You take care of yourself now.